to Gaia, ever-present Mother of Earth.
Now, when was the story for this game written? Did you guys know what the story for Part 3 was going to be when you were wrapping up 2 or when you were wrapping up the first game?
I think when Corey was working on 2, he had an idea on where he wanted. Obviously, we ended 2 on a cliffhanger. We knew where we were going to go. We kind of knew that, hey, there's going to have to be a showdown here. So those kind of things were kind of laid down. But how we got there is definitely not written in stone. And I think that, the story kind of evolved as the design evolved. I think as various people became parts of this story, they added their own take to it. I know when Stig became the game director, he looked at what was currently laid down and really did, made a huge effort to make it his own, to give it his own style, his own direction, and his own, perspective. And I think that really shows in, like we mentioned earlier, each version has, a different twist to it.
You guys have been working on this for 3 years, and undoubtedly there were tons of challenges along the road. What was the one challenge that at one point you're like, I don't know if we can solve this, but then you did?
I think that I keep going back to the Titans. That was definitely one that we're like, okay, I don't know how we're gonna do this. We started at the very beginning of the game. We started with what we had a block man, who was just these blocks for arms and legs, and he was animating. We were trying to get the player climbing on it. There's so much of a learning curve for that. It's like, okay, now that this is sort of working, I think one of our original Titan designs had Kratos, showing up at the toe of a Titan and trying, the design was he was going to climb all the way up to the neck. We laid that out. That took 4 hours to play. It's like, okay, well, that's going to take that's going to take the next 3 years to do, and that's going to be the whole game. That's not going to work. Let's go back to something that works. So we had to identify the parts of the Titans that were recognizable, like fingers and hands and arms. Joints were recognizable, the shoulder, always having the face and parts of a face in the screen. Again, very recognizable parts for the player to help establish and root them as to where they're at and what they're looking at. So then once we figured out, okay, now how do we make gameplay on those areas? And it just kept, every little step got us to someplace with more questions. And then we had to answer those questions.
Where does the series go from here, and do you think you could work on another one of these games at this point?
I think what I'm most excited about is seeing where this franchise goes, but I'm also excited trying something different and then bringing what we learn and what we experience by trying something different back to the franchise, and not necessarily revitalizing it, because I'm sure, but all that extra input or different input, always, as an art form, and any art form, the more experiences you can draw from other things will just make what you're, focused on that much better.
You always have to make hard cuts in game development. What was the killer cut for you from God of War 3?
Probably the hardest cut was we had a whole kind of epilogue at the end planned that we just never didn't get done. Maybe later. The team constantly pushes itself. They're constantly trying to do more than they know they can do. And they know it going in. It's kind of like, come on, guys, you're not going to get that done. And, they want to try. And, we give them the opportunity. We give them the means to try. And they always amaze myself and others by just getting, you think they're only going to get here and they get way out here. And, it's painful for them to finally admit that they're not going to get exactly where they want to go. But at the end, they're just kind of like, yeah, you're right, all right. So it's never been really, really hard debates. I think this is definitely the end of the trilogy. I think, we really, it's good to have this trilogy end. It's good to kind of have a sequence that's, start to finish. It's done. There's not going to be this, what's happening. It's not drawn out. It's not, it's not dying on the vine. It's, here it is. But there's definitely more to come. And enjoy, and keep your eyes out.